maybe you could tell me what makes you cry. I'm sure we've all got something. Even the boys out there. So I'll start with the films on this quite a list. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but there are quite a few. The first is Gladiator. I think we all know which scene I'm going to say. It's obviously right at the end when Maximus dies. I'll tell you one thing in films that always gets me. It's not so much the actual scene, but it's the music that plays with the scene. I mean, next time you watch a film and you feel yourself crying, or you feel really emotional because of a film, mute the TV, turn the sound off, and the effect isn't half as epic. It's all about the music. And with Gladiator is when he's dying and Now We Are Free is starting to play, and then right at the end when is it Sheba, he buries the little figurines that Maximus has, and then he says, "Now we are free, I will see you again, but not yet, not yet." Oh my god, that always gets me. And then Now We Are Free starts to play. I've already made a video on that. It is one of my favourite songs. It's just so powerful. Okay, the next is How to Train Your Dragon. I think I've mentioned this before, but the How to Train Your Dragon is one of my favourite, if not the favourite score. And I just have to listen to the music, the score, and that makes me cry. Although not all the time. For those of you who've seen it right at the end, it's the Where's Hiccup scene when they've just fought the gigantic dragon, and then his dad comes, and then when he finds out he's alive, and the music goes, and everyone's really happy, and then the dragons come down, and the big beefy Viking is like, whoa. But no, if I'm gonna repeat myself many times here, but if you've not seen How to Train Your Dragon, I would seriously recommend it. I know they're making a second and possibly a third How to Train Your Dragon, which I'm quite happy about, but I'm not sure whether I should be happy or concerned, because I mean, I draw your attention to Exhibit A, which is Shrek. That was a pretty epic film. That was a really great film. Then they made a second one, which was quite good too. Then they made a third one, which was not very good. And then they made a fourth one, which I really didn't like. I've only seen it once, so I don't know. It's kind of ruined it, but it's still one of my favourite films. Excuse me. The next one is Toy Story 3. I don't know a single person who hasn't been moved by Toy Story 3, who hasn't cried, who hasn't wanted to cry because of Toy Story 3. I mean, if you can honestly say that you sat through Toy Story 3 and didn't feel moved, then you're either lying or you're a cyborg, because everyone I know said they cried. The bit where they're all holding hands and then the aliens save the day, that makes me cry with happiness. I always smile at that bit. I was smiling right now. And then there's the very end when Andy drops the toys off and he says, "Thanks guys," and then he drives off. So sad. That is the reason Toy Story, I should say, is the reason why I have dozens of soft toys in my room, because I don't want to chuck them away, because I know they have lives. They don't want to be chucked out. So it's thanks to Toy Story that I have a room full of junk. Again, this is another popular one, Titanic. Although Although it may surprise you that the bit that makes me cry is not when Jack dies. That doesn't make me cry. I feel moved by it, but I don't cry. The bit that makes me cry is right at the end when Rose, old Rose, supposedly dies in her bed. Just like Jack said, you'll die an old lady warm in her bed. And then the camera pans around the photos, and then it shows you on the Titanic, and then the Titanic comes back to life. And young Rose walks up the stairs to Jack, and they start kissing, and everybody who died on the Titanic is stood clapping at them. I think that is the most powerful scene ever. One of the reasons I think why Titanic is so powerful is because it was real. It was a real event. It actually happened. There were people on there that died. The characters were real also. Not Jack and Rose, but like the captain, Mr. Ismay, Mr. Andrews, they were all alive. Although Mr. Ismay, I don't think he died, but quite all the crew did. A little fact I saw on QI is that the first thing that happened to the crew I saw on QI is that when the Titanic hit the iceberg, the first thing that happened to the crew was that they got fired. Because I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was when the ship, as soon as the ship stopped sailing, or because it began to sink, it was going to sink, their wages were immediately stopped. That's quite cruel, that. You're trying to get everybody off and you're not being, and you've had your wages stopped. Anyway, next one is Harry Potter 7. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. This is not so much the film, it's the book when Dobby dies. In the film, I thought it was a bit rushed, to be honest. I did kind of get a tear in my eye, but it was the book that made me have to cry my eyes out. And when Harry is digging the grave by his hands, and then he realizes Dobby a free elf, it's the book that gets me. By the way, I should apologise if you can hear any background noise. There's some builders next door and they're doing an awful lot of drilling. It's quite annoying actually. And there's some girls across the road that are playing. Right, next is Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire. I really love that movie. I think it was an Oscar-nominated movie a few years ago, 2009, I think, or 10. Really powerful. And the scene is when Precious is sat in the classroom and all she's written in her book is why, and then she starts breaking down, saying that nobody loves her, she's HIV positive, and then her teacher says, your baby loves you, I love you. The next one is My Sister's Keeper. I can't actually give you a specific scene because the whole film is just so depressing. The whole entire film. Two scenes though. The first one is when, I've forgotten his name, is it Taylor? When Taylor dies, her boyfriend. And then the second one is the beach scene, when the song is playing, Feels Like Home by Edwina or something. And when she gets up and starts walking to the edge of the sea, and then she closes her eyes and the sun is setting. Beautiful. I thought that was really well done. Some people, it's got some bad reviews because of the cry factor of it. I've not read the book, but I thought it was quite a good film. Okay, the next one, I'm sure you're all bored of me telling you how good this film is, but it's she goes into, well, whichever you want to say, it's either the real world or her dream world, where she meets her family, her dad, and then when it cuts back to her and she's smiling and then she dies and Mercedes is crying, and again it's the music when when Mercedes' lullaby is playing in the background. Again, that's another good score. I think it's by Xavier Navarrete or something like that. But it's a really good score. I'd recommend that. Okay, the next one is Happy Tears is Slumdog Millionaire. When he wins, I watched it the other day. When he wins the what was it, 20,000 rupees, and then everybody's cheering for him. That's what made me cry once though. I don't know whether it's just, this is just me being odd, but sometimes if I think of a specific film, a specific scene in a film for a while, if I think about how good it is, how powerful it is, and then I actually watch the film, I get really emotional when that scene comes up. This happened recently with Black Swan. I'll tell you about, Black Swan. I was thinking about it, about how good the film is, how it's such a work of art, and I was thinking about the end, which is the Black Swan, and then when she jumps off, when the swan commits suicide, and then when I watched the film, because I bought it the other day, and then at the end she says, I felt it, I was perfect. It made me cry. It's never happened before, but it did. So whether that's just me being odd, or whether other people know what I'm talking about, if not, I'm gonna sound like a complete douchebag. Okay, the next is another Happy Tears film. It's not a very big film, it's Four Lions. I don't know whether you've heard of it. It was nominated for a few BAFTAs last year. Four Lions, it takes place in Sheffield, which is only 20 minutes from where I live. And it's about four suicide bombers who are planning to blow themselves up, and it's just so stupid. There's four of them, well, five of them, and they're just so stupid. I can't really describe it. If you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about, but if you haven't, like, there's a scene that always gets me. There's two scenes that always get me. One of them is when there's one of the terrorists, and obviously they've got a beard, and they've got hundreds of bottles of bleach, and the other one says, what, did you go into the shop and ask for it? And I'm going to sound stupid describing this, but he said, well, how did you disguise yourself when you asked for the bleach? And he put his hands over his face to cover his beard, and he told him that he disguised himself as a woman by covering up his beard. You're going to have to YouTube it, see if it's on YouTube. It's so funny. And then the other one is when, maybe I can explain this a bit better. I think he's called Faz, or something like that. Yeah, they're carrying explosives. Their car broke down, so they've got to carry these explosives to this house, and they're carrying them across a field, and they're proper explosives, just one jerk and they could blow up. And everyone's at the house except this one bloke called Fez, and they're all shouting at him, and he's in a field, he's running across the field. He jumps over a wall, and then he trips over a sheep. There's a sheep, and he trips over it, and he blows it up. And it blows up, you can see the sheep. It sounds really brutal, but it's so funny. You're gonna have to watch it. And then he says at the end, he says, oh, it was brilliant. He took our sheep and everything. Yeah, you're probably not impressed. But honestly, just if you ever get the chance, watch the film. I'm crap at explaining it. Okay, next is Edward Scissorhands. I only saw this for a few times, for the tongue-tied here, for the first time a few weeks ago, a few months ago, but when I saw it, I thought it was such a beautiful film. I'm a big fan of Tim Burton, and I think this was the first Tim Burton Johnny Depp collab, and it's the ice dance scene, which is the single most beautiful single track that I've ever heard. Ice dance, absolutely beautiful. And then the very end, when old Kim is sat telling her granddaughter a bedtime story, and she says, "Well, how do you know he's still there?" And then she says, "Before it never snowed." And then she looks outside and it's snowing, and then it shows him chipping away with his hands. Next is Thelma and Louise. Obviously it's the end when Thelma says, "Let's keep going," and then they kiss and then they drive over the edge. Again, it's the music that gets me. Hans Zimmer, complete genius. And then the last two are Pixar films. I love Pixar. I've seen every single Pixar film except for Ratatouille. The first is Finding Nemo. The music, very good. Thomas Newman. It's the reunion at the end when Nemo and Marlin finally find each other. Always gets me. And then the second Pixar film is Up. It's the love story between Carl and Ellie. When it shows her that she can't have children, or whether she's lost a child, I'm not exactly sure. And then it shows her really old, and then it shows him in the church with a single balloon. I've just watched that scene on YouTube just before I started this video, when I cried again. I'm a crier. And that's it, that's all the films I can think of at the top of my head that made me cry. There are a few TV shows too. There's I'm a big sucker for TV finales. Like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I used to be a big fan of that. I still am actually. I watch quite a lot of episodes on YouTube. And the season finale with her riding off in the distance with Harvey and their soul stones, joining the royal family. I think it's more of a British sitcom. It's about a family in Manchester. Ricky Tomlinson, Caroline Aherne. It's really funny. But there's it's the Queen of Sheba episode where Nana dies, and it's the music that's playing. I think it's Scarlet Ribbons by Sinead O'Connor. Another one is Doctor Who, when Donna dies, or as her memory wiped and she's crying her eyes out. I thought that was very well done by Catherine Tate. Very well done. And David Tennant, don't forget him. And then last but not least is possibly my all-time favourite TV show, even though I never actually watched it when it was on air, and that is Frasier. I've never seen it on telly. I mean, I was 1 when it started to air in '93, and I was about 12 when it ended, so I didn't see it, but I watch them all the time on YouTube. Niles. I love Niles. If I could find a Niles, my Niles, then I would die happy. I think every girl's probably thinking the same. The scene is called the episode is called 3 Valentines. I'm It's 10 minutes where David Hyde Pierce doesn't say a single word. There's Mozart playing in the background, and he ends up setting fire to his trousers. He cuts his finger, he faints, he sets the sofa on fire. It's so funny. It's the funniest 10 minutes of television I've ever seen. It's so funny. I'll link it up in the bottom if you like, in the down bar. And then lastly is the finale of Frasier, Goodnight Seattle. The best bit about that is Frasier's speech. I thought whoever wrote that was an absolute genius. What did he say now, if I can remember it? For 11 years now, you've heard me say, I'm listening. Well, you were listening too, and for that I am eternally grateful. Good night, Seattle. And then it pans round and everybody's looking at him. Daphne and Niles with their new baby. And then right at the end when he says, welcome to Chicago, that whoever wrote that deserves a big fat gold medal. That was the most powerful ending to a TV show I've ever seen. So that's all the things that made me happy, or sad, or cry. So let me know what makes you cry.